Paris, run through the single drill. But sorry, not sorry, ain't it funny? Herb Lee on the track, license to ill. Advise opinions maybe, but facts ain't lies.
It's gold medal mentality. Watch the sunrise, one of one, them checking in. Silver sitting pretty, still mean second best in the world. Get ready, face down opponents, pressure cooking hot. Gave my sweat, my focus, everything I got. TJ Bronze, and TJ holding down the beyond. Stood on the stage, he's up for the Giants. Turn a new page, little discipline, focus, respect for the fight. The facts ain't lies. Gold medal mentality. Watch the sunrise, one of one. Reality, if your feelings get bruised, let the whining begin. But don't wait for apologies. Don't hold your breath, son. We're sorry.
To the Warehouse 15, and as usual, there's been the pre-show banter where we help each other get motivated, masticated, and not the other M word. But welcome, gentlemen. How you doing, Mr. Coach Moreno?
Yes, I am doing good. I am here in Uzbekistan, Tashkent, Uzbekistan, for a couple of weeks. Really enjoying the country. It's a beautiful, actually, very beautiful country.
Uzbekistan? What part?
I think it's called Tashkent.
Okay,
I don't know how that's the pronunciation, but very nice place. It's warm right now. Very hot here. Beautiful, like buildings, nice people. Food has been really good. Super cheap. Like I want to tell you guys, I want to tell you guys, your boy made it. Your boy made it. Your boy made it. Like, look at this: 100,000, 200,000, 300, 4, 5. I'm a millionaire, baby. I'm a millionaire up in this joint. I spent 500 on dinner tonight, man. That's how I roll. It was actually equivalent to $38.
Oh my gosh! Well, what you'll learn quickly about Uzbekistan is that when you go, they will take your money if you give them American dollars and change it for a certain amount of money, especially $100 bills. And then when you go to pay at a hotel, they want you to pay in U.S. dollars because
for sure.
Yeah, and because they get a better exchange rate on it. And then TJ, Coach, I want to thank you for joining us from the lineup. And those of you that are watching the podcast, he's apparently in some police station, and I see the thing. How you been, Coach?
I'm chilling. I'm actually at the gym right now. I had a couple private lesson clients this morning, just hanging out now. I sat here for you. I got a shot clock behind me. I've been hearing you running off too long. So if I got to hit the shot clock on, you get 1 minute, and then you got to get it all done. We're not going to sit here and listen to this.
Here's a sign, TJ.
Yeah,
you see that? You push the button.
You guys, I'm ready. You can cut me off at any moment because I usually don't have much. I don't really talk that much. I don't think I talk that much. But then again, I don't listen to myself. So I talk and don't listen to myself. So which is what I suggest most people do. But it's been an amazing week. I'm glad that we're here. Well, I got a note which I found fascinating because we get these emails, and I'm in California, home of sunshine and everything that's not North Carolina. And it was a weird note. It was from the Kukiwan, California, which I kind of had heard existed. And then it was a cancellation, a recancellation, and then a whatever of an event that's not going to happen now in San Francisco. So I started getting phone calls from all these people asking me.
That was a skip Dan test or whatever, right?
Which is weird in itself.
Extra credit classes.
Yeah, this
extra credit classes.
They tried to do this in Colorado a while back, and then all these people went and spent a lot of money, and they didn't know the requirements, but more importantly, the ones even that knew the requirements, 70% of them didn't pass. They spent all this money, and then that happened in Vegas again. So,
why don't they pass?
Because they can't do what they say they're going to do. And so, these guys try to. It's kind of a scam. No, the people that are running it tell them, listen, you can come and we'll find you'll get skipped 3 dans, and you can't do it. You need a certain competitive record, or you have a 5th dan in karate, and you come and we'll get you your 5th dan in the Kukiwan. And so,
really, they do that for other disciplines?
No, they said they
that makes no sense,
dude. They said show us a legitimate time in training. A legitimate whatever. And so it begs the question, if you're a guy who took your time, went through all this stuff, followed all the rules, and you're 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden some, asshat he decides he's been in the wrong world and he's going to come over to the Kukiwan, And he shows up in the room, learns a couple of forms, and now he's a ninth dan in the Kukiwan or an eighth dan or a seventh dan.
That makes no sense.
Zero.
That's like this. I'm not a fifth degree in Kempo. Well, you know what I'm saying? They're not.
But I guess when you're that high up, again, this is my ignorant question. When you're that high up in the Kukiwan, sixth, seventh, or eighth dan, like what does it do for you? Like, are you a part of? I know you're part of an organization. Or are you like, what does it do?
Well, it depends if you're Korean or you're American. So if you're Korean, it's a different world. And if you're American, in the United States, there are 7 men. I'm not sure how many of them are still alive that are ninth dans. And then Dr. Kapner just got his, so 8. And then I hear my friend may be testing next year.
But again, what does it do
like
for
a
you?
test. Yeah, it's just like you just get a.
You know what it's supposed to. It should be. You're now in the leadership mode. You're one of a very elite group of people in the world who have achieved a ninth dan. What you found here, though, is with all these little weird Kukiwans, which are run by a guy who created an organization that can't exist because he made it up himself and has just told them all, you will now bow to me and you'll be my guys. All the guys that are running these, you've never heard of them. Like the guy in California, I never heard of this guy. I've been to a lot of tournaments. I've been around a long time. The guy that's running it is some fifth dan and doesn't know how to run his certifications, never done a class, I never saw him. I did all the Kukiwan. I taught all, as Coach Moreno knows, I taught all the sparring seminars when the Kukiwan came here doing certifications. I didn't see this guy in the room. And all of a sudden now he's the Grand Master fifth dan who's telling people, oh, you come and I'll get you skipped a dan or two. And they're taking people's money. And they have a bunch of people signed up for the San Francisco one, which they then canceled. So I kind of sent a note and asked some questions. But I just alert people out there, do yourself a favor. This is a public service announcement, not from Warehouse 15, but from me personally. Save your money. Save your time. Don't waste your time with the Kukiwan,
it's almost
California.
Like you know what? It's almost like, a little bit of something, things what we talk about kind of in the U.S. Taekwondo, organization. There's so much turnover and there's so much change that nobody gets comfortable with one or two things because it just changes in 6 months or a year or 2 years. Even 2 years is too quick. So, the Kukiwan has the same thing. I don't know enough about it like you.
Well, the president's changing in a few months, and all this will change again. But they have they have the Hand Me Your Dough coming up in Disney. The Hand Me Your Dough is come and jump up in the air, kick a few boards, do some forms, and hand me your dough, and you'll become world champion of whatever. So we'll move on from that. But I would advise all of you, don't hand anybody your dough. Don't Kukiwan dough anybody. Save your dough and teach your students and promote them accordingly. I think it's time, that's a topic for another day, but for a self-realized USA Taekwondo certification. And the clock is on. I'm on the clock. I'm going to trade Sanders or whatever the hell his name is for TJ.
Hey, what do you guys think about that, though? Speaking of him, what do you guys think about the Shedeur Sanders thing? You want coach?
That may be my son's future. Start it again. That may be my son's future because people may love my son, but they may not love me.
Nah, but you're not in the soccer world though. Like you're not like a primetime soccer player mixed up in the middle of things. It's a little different, I think.
You ever hear of a guy play basketball called ball?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lorenzo. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
but his dad played ball a little bit. But anyways, go ahead.
Nah, but those kids made it. To be honest with you. So let me go with Shedeur. First of all, he was a winner at Jackson State. He was a winner in Colorado. He was a definite a good prospect. But the truth of the matter is, this quarterback draft was not good. They said it was one of the worst quarterback groupings in a long time. Now, that being said, I don't think he should have been drafted, so far down. But he certainly wasn't number one. He certainly, I'm talking about the quarterbacks, and you can make an argument for number 2, 3, being picked over him. But what he did wrong, to be honest with you, the NFL, not fun league, they call it. They get fined for everything. If you go to interviews and you got your headset on, if you go to the interviews and you aren't prepared, like a couple of GMs were like, "Why are you not prepared for this interview?" Like he didn't take it serious. And if you're an NFL quarterback or NFL GM, you're saying, "We're going to start our franchise with this young kid that is just talking this and that." You can't draw attention to yourself at NFL. You can't be like, it's not the college stuff, TJ. You know this. Nobody in the NFL, especially quarterbacks, pop off at the mouth and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Not even the great ones. Not, not, uh, not Mahomes, not Brady, not Josh Allen, not Lamar Jackson. None
So
of
you
them
don't
do.
think there's no room for that? This whole world of like promote yourself, be
Apparently
the
not.
shock factor and all that shit, all that stuff like that.
Because you know why? Because it doesn't work in the NFL. It doesn't work. Nobody does that. Nobody gives bulletin board material. So I don't think. Yeah, I know they want to say Dion said this and that. But again, even that, I'm gonna draft you, and you're gonna play on my team, and then I'm gonna have to know that there's a circus of frenzy media out there talking to the dad
Always.
about what they should have. I mean, it's just not a fun place to be. You don't build your program like that. You do the opposite. Keep everything close inside. Keep everybody on track. That's professional sports. It doesn't work like that at all in any. I've never seen it in history, and I don't think Shadur Sanders is the guy to change that. To change that at all. Not even close. He's not even that. He's number 5 on the Cleveland Browns team. I I had a conversation recently with some guys, and they were like, they bet me that he wasn't even going to make the roster. I thought he's going to. I think he can
No,
beat out
for
at least
sure.
people.
For sure,
But
for sure, for
even that,
sure.
he could be 3rd on the roster, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. But that's that.
So,
But I'll tell you what though. That's that NIL money though. That it's a
of
different. I know he's already got
course,
money because of his dad
uh,
and all that stuff. But when your pocket's
but not like
comfortable
that.
already, you feel like you can act how
8
you
million.
want. Yeah, exactly. Talk how you want, move how you want. And I mean, most of these kids don't even need to go to the NFL anymore. Like that don't even got to be the
Nope.
dream at the end of the day. They can go get 8 mil in college, be great, and then invest in something and get out. Like who knows,
Mr. Perez, you said the Ball brothers, and look how that backfired them. You know what I'm saying? They got busted in the NFL. The kid in Charlotte, he's doing okay, but the other one got injuries, and people were after them. Right? They were after them to shut those boys up because of what their dad did. Imagine what these defensive guys and these defensive coordinators would be trying to do to Sanders, like pinning their ears. I
So
just
you know,
don't think Dion
so
did him any favor.
a team environment, right? So
Right.
I hate to make comparisons to the most recent Taekwondo version of this, but there's there's one thing I learned early on when I was competing was shut up, do your job, let others talk about you. And it was the one thing that a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours, said. He said, "Don't speak about yourself. Let others speak for you." So I took it to like the nth degree. I didn't even film myself. I let other people film me. I watched film that other people had so that I could learn. I had this weird thing about not bringing attention to myself other than to what I did on the floor in the arena. And I didn't speak about, because I learned a very important lesson in '88. I didn't look future. I looked present right now at the moment. So when you're anybody, whether you're a great, and then you get a huge chain, you get this, you do the whole thing, you self-promote, and then nobody takes you on. And now the reason is, get your clock ready. The reason is, yeah, I'm ready. The reason is this: at the end of the day,
You guys froze
you've
on me.
got to understand that you're in a team
Oh,
environment.
shoot.
Taekwondo, you can be an individual to some degree, but without your teammates, you ain't making it either. But definitely in a team environment, if you're distracting from the team's mission, you're distracting from the team's focus, you're distracting from the team's whatever, then you're a detriment, not a positive. You're not a positive to the team. You're a liability and not a benefit. And so in this particular situation, I don't know enough about the player to care about him one way or the other. Other than to say that if you're going to look for a reason, you don't need to look that far. Do your job.
I guess my thing is too, it's so funny. I don't know if it was when he was at Jackson State or when he moved over to Colorado, the Dion. But there was a lot of the interview press and a lot of the Instagram feeds were him going like, "You will wear your pants up. You're not walking around with your pants on your waist, your headphones on, or your hat, or your chains, or
You're
blah blah blah."
right.
He was like, "They're not gonna open their pocketbooks to you. This, and all this craziness." And then it's kind of
And
like, I
now,
didn't see it, but you said that he with his headphones on, not prepared for stuff, it's just kind of flip floppy for me. It doesn't make sense to me
good
in that
point.
situation, But like I
Hey,
said,
quick
I think
change
you
of
got that
subject.
money, got that money.
Hey, Master President, you got to go because I know you're a soccer guy now. You like soccer. You got to watch the Captains of the World. Have you seen on Netflix?
I did. I love that. I love that stuff.
I gotta watch it.
Six. There was. Oh, it's great. I'm at number 5 right now. It's really, really
Yeah.
good. Well done.
I love.
Netflix is taking over the sporting world.
Yeah, in another world,
They're about to get UFC.
I know
Yeah.
UFC is gonna be crazy.
I would love to
They're gonna
in
get on this
another
stuff.
world focus on soccer and helping them because they.
No, don't.
I would love to. Like like they need USA
They
Soccer.
don't need anything.
Professionals don't. The USA Soccer needs a better developmental pipeline that's more concise instead of all the infighting.
Crazy.
Dude, they have
infighting
between
Infighting.
They have MLS next, then they have ENCL, then they have all these small groups.
That's
so the
just
kids,
opportunities, though.
Yeah.
That's just creating opportunities for them to keep playing.
Yeah.
AAU.
I
I
think
think
they
they need more of them.
Yeah.
They need more.
They need more.
It's
They
too hard.
actually what they need is more content of instead of kids getting content from TikTok and places like this Instagram. They need someone in soccer should design like Peak Performance has a training regimen so that kids in USA Soccer could have a consistent pipeline. And instead of doing whipped cream soccer like we talk about in Taekwondo, the fundamentals and the foundation. So the good ones do, and that's why they win. But the other ones, they're just floating around and hoping. And
I
by
just
the
think
time
we
they
don't get our
figure it
best athletes. I mean, the problem with the United States, I mean, we have enough numbers at all levels, but we don't
They
get
should-
the best athletes.
they-
We're getting
but
better. We're getting
they-
better. They're getting better.
they get good
The
athletes.
best athletes are baseball, basketball.
Yeah, but you want to know something? Here's the thing. The one thing about soccer, and used to be true about Taekwondo, is you don't need to be a particular body type. If you can make your body type work in soccer more so than anything else, with the exception of a few positions. Look at Messi. He's not that big. Look at Ronaldo.
No.
So I mean,
He's big.
he's big. But the difference is how you manifest your skill set. So I love soccer for that reason. And I don't want to
Don't they specialize really young though? Don't they specialize really young? Specialize really young, like they start like soccer camps like really, really young.
That's
Over
in
there, yeah.
in
All
Europe,
the rest of the world.
Rest of the world. United States, the kids are in. They have a pipeline that's recreational. Then they go to club. Then they go to a higher level like MLS. The problem is
But what I'm saying,
yeah, go ahead.
no, what I'm saying is, if you think
TJ,
about
hit the
this,
clock.
like, yeah, go ahead. In other countries, like they don't have to compete against professional basketball, baseball, football, and hockey, and so the athletes gravitate towards soccer in most of those countries. It's the NBA in Europe. It's the NFL in Europe. So that's what I'm saying. Like, can you imagine a Deion Sanders running down the wing? Can you imagine a Tyreek Hill playing on the wing? The guy runs a 4.1. Like it would be impossible to catch him. Like it would be impossible. Or imagine you got a center, a guy that's 6'10" being a goalie, and as agile as these guys are nowadays, that's what I'm saying. You're just not getting like our best of our best. And we said that about Taekwondo.
I think that's true. But but then again, let me ask you this question then: Where are those guys? Where are those guys in Europe? Like where are the Germans that are 6'10"? Because they have them, and why aren't they playing soccer?
They are. A lot of them do play soccer, but now they are getting into basketball and things like that. I mean, it's still. I mean, you can't replace soccer with basketball in Germany. Soccer is still soccer. In France, it's the same. So
yeah, fair
anyway,
enough.
let's move on. Let's move to our sport.
Enough of football. Oh, you said you went. I haven't watched many of the matches, but you said you were talking about the Spanish Open a little bit.
Just a quick shout out to the Spanish Open because I think we had a female heavyweight, Hannah Keck, that won a gold medal. We had this the kid, the 54 kid Gunn from is he from New York? Is he from New York?
Yeah, 54. Yeah. New York.
He won a gold medal. Victor Rodriguez. Victor Rodriguez got a bronze medal in lightweight, and I think one other boy, another kid from New York got a bronze, I believe. I can't get his name out right now, but I just thought it was pretty nice to see some kids and some people kind of out on their own, having some success internationally. And it's I was trying to take notice of it that you're seeing some people that are not from the establishment, not from the national program, that are traveling now, and they've always traveled, but people are traveling and getting results. And so I think result at a Spanish Open is pretty good. So shout out to those guys that went out there and did a good job.
It was Gen 3, right?
I was just going to say that used Gen 3, and it kind of had some Some people are saying they were smacking and it wasn't scoring, and a lot of the slides and kind of grades were coming up, which was, I don't think, where we want to be. And with that system, and I know they're going to use that system at the Grand Prix Challenge in North Carolina. So I was actually talking to someone today about, are they going to have Gen 3 socks? Where can I get them? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to
Yeah,
think that don't
that's
even have
okay.
that crap.
It's all a setup. We're gonna have weight champ at the Olympic Games. Don't worry about it. Watch. I'll call it now. We'll end up with the third system at the Olympic Games. That's what I say.
Wow.
I think so.
I don't,
I think
I don't
so.
know.
I
I don't
watched them
know.
use it in Asia. What I think was the Asian President's Cup or whatever I just watched recently. I
Yeah.
think it was one of those, but they're using it over there. I mean, it's comparable. What was
Oh my
in the
gosh. What is
box?
this?
Oh, here we go.
I don't even know what that is.
We can't hear it. I don't know what this is today.
Say
I have no idea what that is.
what's in the box. That's it. What's in the box, gentlemen?
But
I got a
yeah.
question for you.
Go ahead.
Because I'd like to talk, kind of give a little update on this place here. Because like I said, I'm here in Uzbekistan. But I got a question for you guys. What do you think about I had a conversation with a guy the other day about coaching, like some of the. He's a little bit more from the old school, but he has people that compete nowadays, and he was saying that it's super frustrating for people like him, from another generation that works with an athlete, tells the athlete, "Listen, do this because they're going to do this, and then this is going to work," and they do all that stuff. They get to the point, they hit the chest predictor clearly, and it's not rewarded. He's like, "Here I am. I told them what to do. I told them the right thing to do. I told them how to score. They did it all, and it doesn't work." And he's like, that would never have happened in my era. And I was kind of like, I didn't have an answer for him, other than we just kind of move on, right? And I know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was about to say, it's just take another shot situation, I always tell, I mean, when it does suck. When I compare like the generations of Taekwondo and this and electronics, I think this is the toughest game in the world because there's so many inconsistencies. You just you never know what's going to score. You never know how the referee's going to react. You never know if the system's going to stay on, or it's all so many things. So it's a tough game. I think the only thing you can do is the ones that tend to win, they just kind of, just like you said, just go to the next shot, get to the next shot, just keep trying to put their foot on the chest guard. But it's definitely frustrating. I don't know. I think that's a good question. I think we spend about 60% more like free flow kicking and maybe 40% coaching. I think there's a lot of action, a lot of things that happen constantly. But I think the majority is the 60% where you're kicking. There's not really a lot of setup, or I'm just gonna try to test your guard and test your length and test your strength and see if I can get through and see if you give a little bit and then build from there. But I think that's the answer. I don't know. I'm not sure. Like trying to coach it now, I go crazy because most of the time you don't get the response you want from the chest guards, the helmet, or the referees.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good point. What do you, Young? What do you think? Do you think that you think? I mean, I know you don't pay attention too much of the guys nowadays. Do you think the older coaches were more strategical than the ones now?
Well, I mean, the Korean coaches I had weren't. I mean, they didn't really
No, yeah, that's
give
true.
me a strategy.
Good point.
Like they sat in the chair and
Good
passed
point.
me my water bottle. And
that's a
then
good point.
I think
I'm not talking about the ones that we. I'm not talking about the ones that we. But I'm talking, people like people that you consider good coaches in that era.
So good coaches here, and you make an interesting point, and then TJ finally admitted to something which is true. There's no strategy left in Taekwondo, right? So there's no setup, there's no step.
There's a different type of strategy. There's a different type of strategy. There's a pressure aspect.
I found I'm going to share something with you now because I've been waiting for this moment, and I have found a videotape.
It better not be another really good Taekwondo video because last time you showed all these knockouts. Little league coaching at its finest. I remember this video. It's old. I think I know this video.
When he's like, "You suck" or something like that.
Yeah, something crazy.
He goes,
it says click to exit full screen.
Yeah, normally we can't hear it, so that's not a problem. That's a great shot clock, DJ.
But yeah, no. He's got. But I forgot what we were talking about. Now you threw me off. All right, let's go. You just wasted. You know what? You start from there. You start for 41 seconds.
All I'm saying is like, there was one. There's a similar one about that, like in hockey, and then there's the world's worst boxing coach, which I'll share with you guys later. But there's a lot of.
But I think there is a strategy. I think the strategy is just hidden a little differently. There's got to be some strategy. Like I'm just saying there has to be some strategy. Why do people win consistently? They just the only ones that kick more. How do you explain a person that doesn't kick as much and still wins?
Technically, I'm not saying there's not a strategy. If we play a slap hand game, there's always there's a strategy in every game. The question is there a strategy with regard to? You want my imitation of the strategy? Here it is. Wait,
I think it's pressure and strength. I think it's pressure and strength.
Hold on.
Okay.
Leaning back, you're lifting your front leg. When you're watching the drills, and even the drills you guys are training, you're watching. I could show you 20 drills of these new guys, and they're jumping on a box. They're doing drills that are not sport specific, and they're trying to increase the power of their base foot to be able to extend forward while you're on one leg, so you can do something goofy with your front leg that'll touch the chest protector. And you're never going to win this argument with me for a couple of reasons. One is Taekwondo is a martial art, as a martial sport. If it was going to mimic its true thing, it would be a full contact martial art, and that's what you would reward, not body touches. You don't reward body touches in any other sport that's truly a fighting sport. You can have a scoring system, and they got rid of it.
They don't count body shots in boxing. They don't count. I know. But body shots still count against the overall score.
If you went like this in boxing, yeah. And
I know. They got to be good punches.
They would look at you. No, hold on. And now that you brought it up, I found, which I'll share with you later because I don't want to, to get you crazy on all this. But I found the guy that under that. The reality is, it doesn't have a strategy that's tied to the martial art itself. When you can do a back,
challenge you to find me one player you like.
In the current style?
One player you like. There's got to be one person that you're like, man, this kid can fight. There's got to be one person in the entire world that you're like, this guy is pretty good. It's got to be one. I need you to find me one. Just one.
I got to tell you, I see a lot of talented players, and I think they're what do you call it? They're not coached well, and they don't expand their knowledge base. But I found the guy. This is my guy.
So exit full screen again.
This guy could win the U.S. team trials.
I heard we can't see it.
Oh, you can't see it? Hold on. Let me see.
No.
I thought I did.
There are some divisions. There are some divisions in the U.S. team trials.
You see it now?
Look the way they do. Like some are really low based and like not high level competitors to be at a team trials. But like, I mean,
Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. Listen, I'm gonna agree with you, Hyung, because there's a lot of people, and TJ, hopefully you understand this. A lot of people in this sport that teach your people how to do stuff with their front leg, and their strategy is exactly what you said, Hyung. They stand there and go like this. Those coaches are not good coaches. Right. Their kids will get their foot at someone's face eventually, but you and I know they're not doing anything. Like if you just sit there, listen to them. Heck, I've heard some recent things where someone kind of videotapes and you hear this encouragement or information in between rounds, and it's not information that relates to how do I go get a point. And so those people have taught their people just how to kick and hold their leg up, and like you always say, see what just kind of sticks. And then there's people that are like, push him back, draw him in, let him come in. When he comes in, I want you to slide back and kick. Like you can hear the coach talk to the athlete of what they're trying to achieve, how they're getting to that point. But I would say most of them just have taught their people how to kick and kick a lot, and they call that strategy go.
Yeah, I think that's that win now kind of strategy. I think that's the difference between like the older training and training now. We were training to turn 18 years old and fight 27-year-olds that could like kill us if they needed to. You know what I mean? Strong, big men, and I think that's the part of the thing. Everyone's trying to win at cadet and they're trying to win at juniors. Not that those levels aren't important, but I think we emphasize on the winning part, the touches and all that stuff. And then later on, I think when you start to get to the junior world level, you see that little bit of a difference change in some of those kids over there. Like those they're a little bit more aggressive. They understand that, like, we talk about pressure and distance and all this stuff a little bit more, as opposed to if this is working, it's cool. But I think that's the problem. I think we're so focused on, cadet national teams and junior national teams. And I know it's always hard to get a kid to kind of get through all the systems, but the goal was always to get to the highest point, you know?
So TJ and Young, you can
Not
jump
that
in
it's
on
not,
this
but
too, like because I mean, so are there coaching secrets anymore?
mm.
Are the coaching
Yeah, there's still coaching secrets because, and you don't have to love or hate the game, right? You got to admit the game is the game, right? And so, can you say to somebody, and I'll give the one thing that I'll talk about, which is canceling. You lift your leg up to cancel a kick. Is there a secret? Is there a better way or a worse way to do that? There are unique ways to do it, and then there are unique things that you can do, and then they become known because you
I think
do
there's
them
a better way
way.
or a worse way.
But by the way, there might be a way that one guy has that he knows how to follow up with it in a certain way or fact. My point is those are strategic in the sense of, and here's the thing you have to here's where you should start from, and this is why we haven't had this conversation yet. If you were going to design a game, and I don't care if it's soccer, basketball, or a brand new game, whatever the game is, if I took this guitar pick and the idea was to throw it into a cup, there would be a set of outcomes. The good is if the pick makes it into the cup. The bad is if the pick doesn't make it into the cup. That's the value. So if you look at Taekwondo and you say, what was its original intent? The game I just told you has no value. But boxing had a value, and it was to control your opponent, dominate your opponent, or knock your opponent out. Those are the things that...
You don't think that's the same now? Control, dominate, or try to knock them out? Not even close. Not even control.
I'm not even
control.
I'm not going to even have this conversation because
not even control though.
The girly little sissified stuff that I have to when I decide
Some
to
of
even
it's
try
bad.
to
A lot
watch.
of it's bad.
It sucks.
A lot of it's bad, but...
If any of these guys did this at a point in the old format, they would get killed and carried out on a stretcher.
I know, but we've had this conversation.
All right, so now let's just talk about, if you like where Taekwondo is, then we don't have to talk anymore about what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Taekwondo originally, in its original intent, was taking something that was full contact and deadly, that supposedly, and MMA killed that, and said, here's what you reward, because if this were a real situation, it would matter. And that's gone away. In other words, the idea that any one particular technique, because it's not power-based, has that ability anymore goes away. So now the goal of the game has gone away. And instead of it being focused on what it should have been, which is the intent of the martial art or sport, it's focused on
scoring.
On scoring on this particular dynamic, which is a chest protector. How do I shape my foot in such a way? And this is the problem. And as soon as I say it, you'll understand it. It doesn't matter whether I kick or I lift my leg in a non-kick fashion that wouldn't have anything other than the contact happen. That's now a point. And that's it. Had you gone with a slightly different system, you'd have better outcomes. If you went with a pressure power system, you can't pressure power non-technique.
They did that.
And by the way, if
it didn't work.
it
didn't work.
It doesn't, because they didn't have the technology. But if you did do it, the argument was, what if he kicks him in the arm? And I'm like, if he kicks him in the arm hard enough and the arm hits the chest protector and it can score, it can register, that should be it. And so we have, because of cheating, conniving, nepotistic, xenophobic countries, and in one country in particular, that couldn't get out of its own way to not cheat or force their referees not to cheat, we now sold our soul to a game, a bad version of a video game that doesn't work. If this were a video game, nobody would play it. Nobody would play this video game. If this were the old, which I used to go to the movie theater and play before the movie, Karate Fighter, you at least knew when you press those buttons, you duck down, you punch the guy in the groin. And if you figured out how to do a back kick.
There's the standards there's no standards in anything. It doesn't matter. As long as your foot touches the chest guard, it scores. And I think
it's not a point. That's not a point.
It's
not a Taekwondo technique or point. Now, I'm okay with that. So as soon as you throw out the aesthetic, that's like saying, I like to listen to certain kinds of music. When I hear it, I hear harmonies. I hear this, I hear that. And it's a great kind. And when it's not that, I can tell, hey, that's not good music. That's terrible. Now, there may come something new
That's it.
that's different, and I like it, and I'll say, "Oh, I may not like it, but it's still good." I'm going to ask you this question. Start your clock. I'm going to ask you this question. Make sure it gets to 92. It's a good year. I'm going to ask you this question. Is
You
there
got 33
anything
seconds
that
left.
you like? You didn't start it. Is there anything that you like about this style of Taekwondo?
I like the round by round system. I don't mind the restart because
I'm talking about the art, not the rules. Hold on, hold on a second.
What's the question?
This is going to be the mic drop. Get ready. Katunk.
What's the question?
So if you looked at old style Taekwondo, you would say, I like this double kick. I like this back kick. I like this round kick. I think those are powerful, effective techniques. I like the fact that you can kick somebody and they stop being able to think. They're unconscious on the floor. Can you say that there's a technique in this particular style of Taekwondo?
They still throw round kicks and back kicks and they still throw it. I'm going
to answer that, but let me just go back real fast because you talked about everyone's manipulated the system to score on the techniques on today's mechanism, but wasn't that the same in the 80s and 90s when you learned how to wrap your foot to make a big noise? Didn't you key up and you celebrated your technique? It's the same thing. Even if you kicked them in the ass, you yelled loud so the referee said push it, so they assumed it was going to hit. By the time they realized it didn't hit, it was too late. So we manipulated the system based on our attitude, based on our energy, based on where the referee thought the kick was going to go. So in a strange way, it's the same. But I also want to get back to, sometimes we talk about the athletes and stuff. And when you say people knock people out, you're right. You did a lot of them. I saw a lot of them. I did a few in my day. But I also know there was a million people that showed up to tournaments that were weekend warriors that trained a couple days a week. There was about 4 of you, Herb. There was about 4 of me. There was about 4 of Daesung. There wasn't many, and that goes worldwide. And so when we talk about that old school, while I know people did kick harder because that's what was necessary, there wasn't many people that good at it. There was only a few countries that were good at it. What I can say about now, you asked me what I like about the techniques now. I love how people can manipulate their leg in midair to crack somebody. When someone can drop their foot on their face, like seemingly in a space that's this tight from this range, is mind-boggling, because when we fought, everything was so long and so far and so extended. Very rarely did you fight in middle distance. You couldn't. It wasn't. It was frowned upon. You couldn't give up that space. You couldn't give up that chance of somebody tagging you and rolling out. I think there's a lot to like. I love the endurance of these athletes. They have to move every 3 seconds. They have to engage every 3 seconds. And the clock stops every time there's a clinch, every time there's a fall, every time. So you fight a real 2 minutes. I know our days in the championship level was 3 minutes, but that was a running clock. And there was a lot of standing, a lot of holding, a lot of grabbing. So I'm not, I'm old school, so I'm not going to bag it and trash it, but I'm also not going to say that it was great and this is horrible. Just like you said, TJ, there is a bunch of crappy stuff. I see a lot of crappy coaches teaching crappy stuff and getting away for it.
Do you teach crappy stuff in your gym? Do you teach crappy stuff?
I will say no.
Exactly. I like, it goes back, for me, it goes back to the coaching. It goes back to what's instilled in the athletes from a young age. And I'm not saying, I don't care who's good and who's bad, but I think that's where it starts. Me personally, I'm not going, okay, we're going to flick our foot this way. It's more like off of these real shots. Maybe we can find a space here because we have to score. But I think the base of building is still the same. I think it's, you encourage them to have motion and movement. You encourage them to engage. You encourage them to follow up. You encourage them to keep the space, now more so with cancels and cuts as opposed to big, heavy round kicks and spinning. But you're still encouraging them to like push the fight. Well, at least that's my version of the game. I'm encouraging them to push the match so that we can do some old school old school stuff and like some heavier shots and get through. And I think if you watch the matches from beginning to end at the highest level, you watch that breakdown from round 1 to round 2 and maybe even round 3. Well, now all of a sudden this guy is getting his back flag underneath because he knows this guy's distance. He knows he has him standing still. He can get to the top side, throw something big, hit the big spins. I just think it's a progression still. It looks weird. It can be weird, but I think it's a progression, and the goal is still the same.
Guys, I'm here watching these kids train right now, and Herb, if you would think it was Korea, you would think it was. I mean, they're doing stuff like back leg round kick, punch kick, back leg round kick, punch kick, like off the line, punch kick. They're doing skip, cut, kick, drawback, up, punch kick, switch your stance. Who's this?
But that's we had some good Fenway girls, so they were strong.
This is who is? I don't even know who these people are. This is Thailand and Korea.
Is it playing or is it you like skipping?
No,
that was a good axe kick. It's not loading.
Look at the stepping. The stepping is beautiful. This is amazing. Can't see it. You can't see it.
We gotta get our video. Yeah, we gotta get our video feedback going because it's just choppy on my screen.
Is it? No, that's actually what it looks like. It's not choppy.
No, but you should see these kids. And I'm here with my Brazil guys. And
okay, here's Korea versus somebody.
Thailand.
No, he switched. Same. Yeah, it's just choppy for me.
Choppy. Yeah, you can't see it. It's just.
We should do one podcast where we actually figure out how to like make the videos run smooth. Where we can watch a few. We'll do it at some point. But the point is, like, and this is like not to say anything other than to say what it's saying is. Watch the tape and don't watch the kicks. Just look at the floor, look at the legs and the motion of the feet and see what you see. And this, again, I learned from somebody else. He said, if you watch, it was a friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, and it was one best advice. He says, everybody watches Taekwondo for the kicks. Watch it for the motion on the floor. Watch it for the stepping and the setup, of which there's none. And in this particular style of Taekwondo. And so you got to just understand, you can do whatever you want, right? But there's an aesthetic to everything. And the aesthetic is what makes it valuable. So if you watch basketball's aesthetic has continued to rise to such a degree now that when you watch it, sorry?
It's trash now. What are you talking about? It's trash. Basketball, bad example.
It's better than 1950.
Not better than the 90s.
Maybe not.
Or 2000s. It's horrible.
Maybe. I don't know.
Hey, a playoff team just won yesterday. They beat the Lakers. They shot 7 for 47. 7 from 47. Yeah. They shot 47 times. They made 7 3-pointers. The worst in NBA history. History. And they won the game.
What was the purpose of the 3-point shot originally? Do you know?
To get 3 points.
What did it prevent?
I don't know what it prevented. They wanted more scoring.
It was risk and reward. In other words, when you take a higher risk, it forced people to. They knew that if they let the guy out there at the 3-point line, he was going to get 3 points. He's going to get 50% more for a field goal than if he were just going under the basket and laying it up, right, and forcing his way in. So every game has its detriment, right? And they try to control the game through the way they punish and they reward.
And now everyone's shooting 3-pointers. Yeah. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like those little touches to the head. We're just trying to touch the head anymore.
And that's why I like to watch high-level soccer. So I watch high-level soccer because then you see the passing and what they do to set up and the understanding of spatial dynamics. It's fascinating to watch. So there are different sports for different reasons that accelerate their technical curve, and then they try to continually revisit what is going to make it more exciting. I don't think you can say, and I challenge you to say, that Taekwondo's technical curve has been accelerated or increased. I think what you would probably say is it's been diminished. It hasn't been increased. And that's not really hard to prove. I don't want to talk about that, but what I will say is you got to decide what the aesthetic is. And if you're happy with what you're seeing now, then we don't have to talk anymore about it. If you're not happy with it,
it's not all, for me, I guess I watch a lot in comparison, so it's not all of it. I understand what you're saying. I really do
Yeah,
get it. Like, I get it. I've
me
seen
too.
so much bad Taekwondo.
Yes,
Like, it's
I
just
agree
bad.
with you.
Like, you're just mind-boggling
You're
bad.
right.
So I know what you're saying, but I just think
You're right, young.
at the higher levels, I don't know, but it's bad.
There may be a guy that can win. In other words, my point is, I'm waiting for the guy who's Jesus. I'm waiting for Jesus to show up and show us how to fish. And I thought it was going to be Aaron Cook, to be honestly, because when Aaron Cook was in that transitionary period, he wasn't Steven Lopez. Lopez was a interlocker. He didn't have any interest in accelerating the game. He had an interest in prolonging his legacy, which is okay. But a guy like Aaron Cook liked Taekwondo for Taekwondo and did Taekwondo. And he switched and he did this. And he tried to he just didn't have the intellectual tool set, and not a dig one way or the other, to understand how to make his style of Taekwondo work against the current style that was starting to become in the forefront. And that's not a dig on Aaron. That's a dig on the coach. Whoever his coach was couldn't sit back and say, okay, maybe let's try this, or let's try that, or let's try that. And I'm not saying that I could, because if you two can't figure it out, I don't think I can either. Like, I have this little fantasy of what I would do. Somebody try to cancel my kick. Good luck, right? You do it once and you wouldn't be able to cancel anymore. You wouldn't be able to walk anymore. And I'll take the minus point, by the way, or the other guy gets the point. I could care less. But that's a fantasy. I'm not in the ring. And so with you guys, if you can't figure out how to develop a player who is going to change the framework of what we do and how it's done, then we're in trouble. And the sport's in trouble, because that's no longer a that's no longer a me problem. That's a rule problem that doesn't allow for technical innovation. And I think that goes back to the scoring system.
You know how, like in the old days, like basketball, like a center, he would go in the paint, right? He'd post up, give me the ball, dribble, he would turn. Everything was close, right? Now, the evolution, these guys, these 7-footers can go out on 3-point line and dribble. They drill the ball up. They pull up from half court. They can shoot. So it's funny, like, you say that, like, I think to myself, okay, Juan, yeah, can you make a person that does all the old school steps and do that stuff? Okay, even if you did, they would still have to know how to use the front leg. I think Korea's getting really good at that. I'm fascinated by these guys right now. I've written down every training. I'm taking little video clips of everyone. I'm just fascinated because all I see is old school Taekwondo. Like I'm gonna hopefully I can have a meeting with the coach on Saturday. I want to know where they learn how to do all this stuff. Because Herb, I'm watching them practice. It's back leg, it's fast kick, it's draw up, it's 2 roundhouse kicks. And TJ, they get in the clinch and they can twist kick, but I haven't seen it in practice. I don't know where they get it from. And as well as I do, TJ, the Uzbekistan girls, they don't fight like they're doing all these drills, just like we do. But when they fight, they're like, their legs are like snakes.
But you and I did that. So you trained with me long enough to know that if you watch me in training, if you watch me fighting, you would think the only thing I did was left leg round kick and check, or back kick and back hook kick. Those were the 3 kicks that you would think I could do. But if you ever watch me in training, which you had, I can double kick, I can fast double, I can not.
So why did you do that? Why did you do that? Why did you use those
I did what the referees needed to see for me to win. And I only did, by the way, that's why I don't blame the fighters. You don't hear me blaming fighters. I'm blaming the system, because I only did what I needed to do to win. So if you watch a highlight tape of me, you would think I was God's gift or whatever. You watch a full match of mine, you go get a coffee and come back, because I did just enough to win, and I did exactly what I just told you. Round kick, check, round kick, back hook kick. The rest of it I didn't need to do.
Maybe that's the point. Because that's what I see. I can see all these kids can do all this stuff, but because the system, you fought against the referees, we're fighting against the system. And so they're doing just what they need to do. And once in a while, they'll get out of box and they'll do something a little crazy, or some double kick or something. But I'm seeing good Taekwondo.
But think about yourself. So I'm going to give you a challenge now, because I'll talk about your performance in '88, which I think you won. I'll talk about your performance in the later years, and then I'll talk about your last performance as an Olympian. And what I would say, and I'll ask you, what do you think the difference was between your '92 performance and your last performance, 2000?
92 and 2000. Well, 92 wasn't. I mean, if you ask me, to be honest, I think I got progressively worse in a sense. I said when I was young, I was this monster that could kill the world. 92, I was experienced and I was trying to be perfect. And
You
in
got
2000,
you got culture. You got educated and culturized. And the
yeah,
Juan Moreno that was Juan Moreno in '92, had you continued on that path and been an outlier and been a visionary, and you took it and kept evolving that style. And by the way, what you say, which is true, learned what you needed to learn to stay current, you would have been unbeatable because of your size, your
maybe,
body type. No, absolutely. You tried, unfortunately, the coaches you had tried to get you to do too much Taekwondo like they like to do Taekwondo, as opposed to the
maybe
Taekwondo that listen, you were, I don't want to compare you to Arlene Lemus because that's not a fair comparison to either of you for different
not at
reasons.
all.
You were, though, you were the Arlene Lemus of that division, meaning that you went in with something that people didn't expect you to be able to do. You didn't do a traditional cut kick. You did a very long, extended. You were ahead of your time because if you were fighting now, you had that length and that flexibility off your bottom foot. If you had kept that part of your game as opposed to trying to become better at Taekwondo, whatever, your success would have been different. Not you had great
Yeah,
success. Nobody can, it wasn't a bronze medal. It was a silver medal. And so it could, and I'm just teasing you, TJ. I'm just, I love you. Love you.
You thought I was about to cry.
You know, ever since I saw you in that back. But anyway, the point being, so don't put my telephone number up there. You heard our new theme song, right? Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, I heard it.
Dude, it's nice.
I heard it.
All right. But anyway, the reason I say that is we can all second guess. There's if I had done this, if I had only done this differently. The good news for me was I lost in 88. And when I lost in 88, it gave me 4 more years to refocus on me and what I needed to do in my way to win. I didn't try to become a better Korean style fighter. I just tried to become a better me fighter. And so that kind of worked out for me just because of the nature of my weight division. Your weight division was different, and each of us had our own challenges in our weight divisions. And I would never want to fight in either of your weight divisions because the amount of talent in those divisions was
68 is the killer
ridiculous.
division. That's the hardest division.
Ridiculous. Like it.
68 is hard.
And that Servette guy, I wouldn't want to fight that maniac. There's no way I would want to fight him. He was just, and by the way, I'm lucky I was a middleweight. I wouldn't want to fight a welter. Welters were, by and far and large, the best out of the heavier half of the divisions. I'd go with welter. Lightweight,
Yeah,
I'd go with welter. They had power and speed. In the lower
yeah.
divisions, I leave that to you guys because
68
yeah.
featherweights.
Yeah, well, I mean, like with the whole game and the whole style and the whole scoring system, I think that's the one thing when we talk about when it's a tall guy, short guy, middle of the ground guy. But I think you could have your own style back then. Like you said, you did round kick, back leg, and backspin hook. Like that'd be good enough back then because you knew how to control. That was your style. Maybe the other guy was like, man, I can go this, this, and this, and you guys just had your battles. That's why some matches were tougher than others.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Like
so you said something which is interesting. So because now you went back to technique, but I'm going to tell you it wasn't the technique that let me win, or him, or you. What is the most important thing in old style Taekwondo? What is and maybe even a new style? If you're talking to a Taekwondo fighter, what is the most important aspect that you need to control if you want to win? What is it?
It's your ability not to get hit.
Distance.
Like back then for me, it was distance not to get hit. Yeah,
distance.
you didn't.
So if you look, and that's why I tell you, watch the stepping in the foot.
But that's the part that you don't like now. You don't like the fact that I could stand real close and kind of take a lot of damage and nothing goes up, and then I can just poke you in the eye and score 3. I think that's the problem. Now they're not so forced to move back. We can just guard and try to keep it off of our body. What is he doing? He looks like he's doing yoga.
I can't even do it.
Yoga.
But I think that's the difference though. And I mean, I'm not in love with that part either. I mean, before it was the distance control and knowing how close you were and how far you were.
Then fix it. My point, but you just made my point for you. You're not in love with it. Fix it. By the way, I loved
Taekwondo. I use a lot.
I loved old style Taekwondo,
a lot of old school stuff, and a lot of like sharp kicking stuff. I focus on a lot of stuff. I think that's the way the game is going.
Here's the truth. You want the truth, and I'm going to tell you the truth now. Had Taekwondo been what it is now, I wouldn't do it. I would go do jiu-jitsu or something else. I wouldn't do taekwondo. If this was where I was headed and I said, oh, this is where we're going?
Yeah, but you wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have known.
What do you mean?
I don't believe that.
I don't do ballet.
Yeah, but if you saw this at the beginning, I mean, little kids don't walk into this and go, "Oh my gosh, I'll never do that." They don't.
You didn't
They
have
look
to
at
go
the-
through the generation of going through your normal taekwondo and then actually switching over to electronics. Like that's the craziest part right there. Going from all that stuff.
I'm talking about today, though. If I walked into a taekwondo gym right now and I watched these guys practice, I watched Via's team practice. If I watched that, I wouldn't do taekwondo. I go do jiu-jitsu or karate.
But that's only because of what you know.
Yeah.
If you're just a regular dad, they come in and they love it. They're like, wait a minute, you get. I'm telling you, we fight all the time, and people always ask, can we fight more on the electronics? Because you can see who wins. You can see what's rewarded and what's not rewarded, and that's appealing to moms, dads, and kids.
Fair enough.
It's real. I mean, again, I'm not. I feel bad when I make all these points because I agree. In the core of me, I agree with you. I think TJ, you do too. There is a lot of crappy stuff. There is a lot of weird bastardization of taekwondo. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. But but at the same time, I think these athletes are freaking crazy good right now. I mean, the flexibility. You have to be flexible. You have to be technical. You have to kick the front leg and back leg. You have to be able to block. You have to be able to, and kick in a short distance. Again, a couple years ago, Young, you could just play long distance. You can't live like that. That's how fast it changed. It's like MMA. At one point, everyone took everyone down. Then there was defense control. Then it was all boxing. People started learning how to kick the legs. All this stuff is new in this sport, but it's becoming a complete MMA. And Taekwondo, I think, is becoming more complete with this system. Not more complete than what you guys did and what I did. More complete on this system because you cannot live on just flexibility and front leg anymore. It's impossible. There's no one that can do it.
Yeah,
it's been a while. And I think that's why when I watch these guys kick like old school, like I was going to say, it's no bag on we brought a really good group here. We got 8 people here that are really good. But when you watch their Taekwondo compared to these kids, the way these kids roundhouse kick, the way their stepping is, you see our kids manipulating things and doing well.
So let me ask you.
These guys have good skill.
Let me ask you another question then, because that's, I've been studying Buddhism, as you know, and my Buddhist teacher was a Taekwondo guy, and I'm talking about you got to figure out who am I and what is this. So here's the start your clock. Here's the.
You only got 14 seconds left. I'm saving you.
Yeah.
The episode ends when it gets to 0.
Hold on. Hold on. So let me ask you a question. So if you were to take a match now, just understand what I'm about to say. I want you to get ready, set it up.
Match.
Referees now that are skilled in this, watching the game, because they don't score anymore, right? The referees are like, the electronic went up. So now they're watching the game. They just give warnings, right? Which is kind of good because not the brightest punch to start. You take those referees and you say, sorry, KP and P, JGA and J, K, Poo and Poo are out today. We need you to score it, and we want you to score the match now. Do you get the same result? The referee, understand, the referee understands what a lizard kick is, what a scorpion kick is, whatever, and how is the outcome different? If a referee scores the match and the electronics score the match, is the outcome different? I don't know. And if the answer is yes, it is. Okay, so that's the difference.
Because they won't score those cut kicks, right?
They won't cut them. They won't score the cut kick.
They probably
won't score the
now.
flip
These referees
I
only
don't
know
think
this.
they would.
These referees only know this. They would hear the coach yell and scream, and the mom in the stands will, and they would press the button for sure.
But all those middle ones that score that you don't really know score, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think a twist kick they would score.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
I change this up real fast. How many referees, TJ, do you think? Like, what I don't understand is when there's a spin and the point goes off, and when referees forget to push the button. I'm like, number one, that's your job. As soon as someone spins, you push it. It's not up to you. As soon as you see them spin, you push. Head, push. That's the only decision you got to make. Is it body or face, right? Actually, no, not even, because 2 points is 2 points extra. I just don't get how
many get missed?
To your point, Herb. How do you miss that? How do you miss a spin?
They're asleep. They're asleep. But, you know, the referees aren't trained well. And then, you know, you guys are aware of the effort we try to do with the refs. So when we were doing the coaching program, which USA Taekwondo can say thank you and send me a check, and the athlete program, thank you, send me a check, the referees, they were next in line. And when we did their thing and we wanted them to sit down and score the match with controllers that would record, and we could then go through and educate them to say, why did you score that as a point? What was your thought process? We got pushback when
they didn't want it.
They didn't want it.
Weird.
And they didn't want to be held accountable. Then at the World Championships,
Right.
Dr. Kapner, myself, and by the way, listen to the list. Kapner, me, Pasquale, Hadi. This is the level of international competitors that is sitting
Denmark,
at the
right?
Yep, we're sitting at the table, and if there was a protest, it came back to us. We video reviewed. We overturned 70% of those decisions. That was the last time. That was the last time we were done because the refs were threatened. They were like guys who actually did the sport. And the difference is,
but that's who should be the best referees. That's who should be leading the referees.
Judo.
Like, that's
here's
like
judo.
Obvious.
You don't get to judge the Olympics in judo unless you've risen to a level where you made it to the quarterfinals or semifinals or some level in judo.
How many athletes actually want to referee? They're all trying to coach.
I don't want to referee either. But and my point is, but train them. I don't know soccer. And I always say this. So when I talk to people about soccer, I can't say. But I'll tell you something. I'm educating myself to a point where I do know soccer. Where if I were to referee, which I would never do, a soccer game, I understand the rules, the tactics, and strategy. In order to be a good referee, if you're going to referee fighting, you have to understand anticipation. So when I'm watching you kick, if I'm scoring the match, I've got to be able to understand that you're going to round kick it. And Dr. Kapner talks about this all the time. I know that if you're round kicking the stomach, there are some potentials that got to happen. And my hand had to be ready to know what was coming, what the potential was, and whether it worked. Then I'm going to be within the window to score. If I don't understand how the game works or the strategy, I can't possibly referee it because I don't know what I'm looking for. And when it happens, it's too late by the time I make that decision.
The crazy part, the only one that needs to do what you're saying, is a center referee, because the other ones, their job is just to push it. You know, they don't, like you said, they could go to
turning
sleep, but
or punching. Right.
Listen,
how does punching score? How does punching score now?
It's scored by referees.
The referees. All right, so they have something to do.
Well,
but by the way, it's hard.
No,
it's
but
hard.
they're trying to take it away. They got a glove because they don't think the referees are scoring it correctly. But you know what's funny is like the referees, I would say, and this is, I know I'll debate with them, bring them on. I would bet that a high percentage, I'm going to say 90% of them, do not understand the strategy of what coaches are doing. They're just trying to inflict the rules, and they don't.
The word is inflict.
And I guess
that's the problem.
Well, yeah, I liked his choice of words. That's a Freudian slip. He wanted to say enforce. He said inflict.
No.
And inflict is because they're trying. They have nothing to do except punish. And this is where by the way, this comes from Korean culture. It's been a culture of punishment for a long time, not reward. They were beating people's feet, doing all sorts of weirdness. And so when you understand that, their thing is like, oh, if you don't want somebody to do something, hit them with a stick. It never occurred to them like the NBA. You want to see more long distance shooting? Reward it. Give it an extra point. You want to see less of something? Then you punish it or you reward the contrary. So that if you want to see faster times on the track, reward faster times. You don't punish slower times. You say, oh, you didn't make it across the line in 5 seconds. You get 20 points less. No, you say, hey, go across the point faster. You win. And it's just kind of a dumb way for me to say it, but it's not untrue. And that's why if you go to a referee seminar back in the day, I don't know what they even have them for anymore. It was a book of 40 to 50 to 60 warnings. And you spend time learning how to properly go, and now you spend most of your time doing a proper abuse, as opposed to sitting them in a room, which we did, and say, by the way, this is what a point looks like. I know you don't understand this, but let's get the coaches and the athletes in the room so we can all agree what a point is, which was our point. And now we all know what we're aiming for. Instead, you go, And then the guy goes, what? And you go, shut up. You cannot talk to me. I am the referee. I am in charge. I punch you in the chest. Go back, sit in your seat. Don't ask me any questions. You don't get any knowledge. It's secret. Hold on. It's secret, and no one can know it except us because we are royal and high, and we are higher than you. And I'm laughing because half the referees that refed me, they were lower degrees than me, obviously lower competitors than me, and they're going to try to tell me what a point is. Have a seat. Let me help you understand what a point is. And then maybe you'll have a chance at judging a match fairly. So a guy like me or you guys, we can actually have fun in the ring. Instead, you're trying to, but Leon Preston's different. Last thing I'll say, start your clock. Leon Preston, he said something which makes sense. He says the job of the referee is to make certain that you don't destroy the beauty of the game. And I go, fair enough. If I'm doing stuff to frustrate the beauty of the game, I have 5 seconds, 4, 3, then I'm at fault. Done. Stop the clock.
I think the referees have too many rules to inflict, but like I say, to enforce, and then I think they choose to inflict them way too often. I miss the referees that just would like have a conversation with you. You know what I mean? Like stand up, like stop grabbing, because they know it's a part of the game, and the goal is to figure out how much is it affecting the game. Everybody's pushing, everybody's grabbing, and you kind of could deal with that. All right, he sees me grabbing, I gotta do a little bit less. You know, you kind of can work with it. Yeah. But now, like you were just saying, I think it's just too much. I'm looking for you to pump 3 times, and maybe I thought it was 3, but it was actually 2. Like we're calling stuff that shouldn't matter, and that's because we got too smart. We could at one point we could hold our leg in the air the whole time. You know, we went from that to now it had to be 3 seconds, and now it's 3 pumps. And I mean, we just keep changing it so it keeps it. I guess I don't even know the word is fair. I don't even know why they keep doing it. I think it makes no sense. But I think that's where the issue comes in with the referees. They don't referee anymore. They just, like you said, inflict Johns and watch you fall and tell you to stand up. Like that's the one that drives me nuts, to stand up if I'm injured. When I I know some people fake and do the whole little acting thing, but some of it just makes no sense at all. But that and the punches, I think that's the issue. But you're absolutely right. I don't think that you don't have to be a fighter to referee this game anymore. You don't have to understand it. You have to understand. You should be at least understanding 1, 2, what 3 pumps look like. You should understand what it looks like when someone shin blocks without actually trying to stop the kick and follow through. I mean, there's little stuff like that you should understand. I think half the time they don't understand that, and everyone's calling it so differently.
And I know it's not, and it's not, I have a friend that runs an organization, the referee organization, and I know it's a hard time, but he has a hard time sometimes. But it's funny because you want to get these young referees, right? But that means these young referees have little martial art experience, little sport experience, and definitely little competition experience. And now they're sitting in national championships and team trials and above and beyond. I was at a tournament in Miami where I saw this lady refereeing like little kids, and everybody was just talking about how atrocious she was, and I was just kind of like, I feel kind of bad. I kid you not, 10 days later I saw her refereeing at the Pan Am Championships. I was like, I thought I saw something. I was like, what? That they were just in Miami coaching or refereeing like green belts, and they were at the Pan American Championships. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. So
that's the problem. There's no referees.
Yeah.
Well, it's a thankless job, right? I mean, I never want to referee. Every once in a while, somebody will grab me because I'm around and they put me in a chair. And I don't want to referee kids because I hate disappointing a kid. And then sometimes they don't do anything that's worthy of a point. So how do you determine a winner? And I don't want to be that guy, And then when I was 5, the Olympic gold medalist. This is why I don't do Taekwondo anymore. But, I don't want to be that guy either, right? But on the other side, then we shouldn't complain, right? If you're not going to ref, then, right. If you're not going to fix it, then whatever. But refs, listen, it's a hard job. 6, 7, 8 hours.
Are you saying we shouldn't complain about referees?
I'm saying there's a good joke about lawyers. They say, what do you call 100 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean?
Hey, my daughter's about to be a lawyer.
All right. What do you call 100 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean?
A good start.
Good start. Same thing with referees. What do you call referees? 100 referees. There are good referees and there are bad referees. And the question is, when they're willing to get educated, I'm willing to help. So when they're ready to change the system, which we tried to do in the past, we tried to make better referees because you can make them better. And you guys talking about that refereeing, I was watching this tape that comes up on my feed.
You have to pay them, no? You got to pay them more for them to invest the time to get better. They got to be paid. Like maybe you want to teach them, but you got to give them they have to have a reason to learn.
That's an organization. I don't disagree. That's an organizational challenge, and I think it should be part of the tournament expense. On the other side of it, they should be held accountable. If they're not doing it right, they should be educated. They should be sidelined till they get it right. And then when they get it right, they get to come back. If they're caught cheating, they should be banned. And if they're caught cheating twice, they should be banned for life, like any other sport. And that's just.
TJ, I said it forever. The WT for the Grand Prix, the World Championships, they should have a professional referee corps. Where they pay these people X amount of dollars. I'm sorry, bite the bullet. Pay these guys, and then you apply what the standards. What Young
don't
said.
Don't they pay the demo team a lot?
Like break boards. Don't they pay for Jay and Steve's plane tickets?
I mean, you probably don't know, but how much do like an international referee make? Like, do they make money, or is it just
they get a per diem? Like if you're going on an international referee, they don't get paid plane tickets, but they may get a per diem, and no per diem,
no plane tickets,
no plane tickets.
No
they
plane tickets.
Their own way.
They might
the World Championships.
No plane.
Sometimes some federations will pay for their referees because it's like one or two, but I think the United States doesn't. I'm not sure on that, but I was talking to one guy and he said that the WT notifies them like so close. Then that was when the plane tickets are so expensive. Like they don't do it right now for Worlds. You could be like, oh, let me get my ticket. They'll let them know a month before or something. 3 or 4 weeks before. So, but yeah, they just get a per diem and food
per day.
Yeah, per diem. Yeah. That's just food and hanging out money.
Is it a big per diem though? Like, is it like a big per diem? Like per
the U.S. Day, the U.S. referees at one point were getting about $35 to $50, and then the international referees
a day.
Which isn't that's not even dinner.
I think they get like maybe 100.
They get 100, 150 now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. For international.
Yeah.
No plane tickets though.
Well, as usual, we've gone long, but we have solved no problems today, but we've certainly created more problems. But at least I finally got you guys to agree that the current state of Taekwondo sucks, and the format sucks, and the rules suck, and there's no new technique that's been developed that has any value. The only thing that gets hurt in
You ever been twist kicked to the bottom lip? You ever been twist kicked to the bottom lip?
If I ever, can I tell you something? If I were ever to be twist kicked at anywhere on my body, I would give up the sport and take up knitting. So if you allow
I
yourself,
could double front leg flop you before you spin.
I would.
Right
you
to the
could.
front side.
I will tell you this: you and I can fight the next time we met, and you lift your leg to try to cancel me, and I'll show you what happens next. So try to cancel my kick, because I'm only kicking with power to the bottom of your leg. Okay.
Move around for about 35 seconds and
he'll be all right.
Oh no, I'll be tired. No. I'm not lying. I'm 65. I get tired thinking now. So I'm old, man. But as always, if you've been offended by anything that was said in this podcast, you can text Juan Moreno or TJ but for me, not sorry, not sorry. Our new theme song. I want to thank my host and hostess with the mostest, and recently up against the wall in his new dojang there. I like the color scheme, white on white on white on white. It's a beautiful place. I like the other, and then today, again, we're going to have that GoFundMe continue, and TJ he needs an extension cord. He hasn't heard of an extension cord. He's in the corner of his gym because that's where the outlet is. So he does a tour. He does a tour with the real estate agent, and he goes, "Oh, this is a nice space. Yeah, look how beautiful it is. Yeah." And he goes, "Where's the outlet?" The guy goes, "It's all the way back by the garage door." He goes, "Okay, maybe I'll put my desk here, and when people sign up, I'm going to sign them up by the garage door."
Here.
Where's your computer?
Just like Sparta, if they're bad, we just kick them off the ledge and we keep going to the next one.
There's no more outlets anywhere in that gym?
There's on the other side where all the treadmills and stuff are, but I don't know. This made most sense. This heavy box was here, so I kept it here. I don't know what to tell you. I'll wait for you to send me an extension cord, though. You're down to 6 seconds, 5 seconds. Close it out so we can go.
All right. We're out. Thank you. That's been The Warehouse.
Peace.
Later.
All right, gentlemen.